Hey, um, whenever I'm in a relationship or I get to know someone more deeply, and I get to observe their patterns and so on, it's fascinating how I notice some things, and I'd like to share some observation with you. So, when two people communicate and some one person interpret in a certain way or misinterpret what the other says, then you get this huge cloud of misunderstanding and eventually the collapse of relationships, whether it be friendships or otherwise, by the way. um, and so how do we avoid this? um, and it seems that only if the two people have enough self-awareness to recognize their own patterns and and really understand how they perceive and interpret things, and how they question, did I get what they meant as they meant it, or did I distort it in some way? um, so either, in order to avoid misunderstanding, either the two have to be enough self-awareness to recognize their own subconscious patterns and the way they interpret to confront it, or one of the two has to have has to be uh, perceptive enough to recognize the patterns in the other person's and communicate it in a way that is able to reveal it to the other person without uh, getting them mad or offending them. And that's another thing. And I find it really interesting because I had an example with someone. If you say, and it inspired me to record a video about the, the distinction between desire, want, and expectations. Meaning, it seems that people today, they combine or they intertwine the meaning of the three notions, or somehow they overlap. For example, if someone tells you, I want you or I desire you, some people might interpret it as, if someone tells me they want me, it means they expect me to want them in return. Do you know what I mean? So that's very tricky. Or same for desire. But if we are more precise, if I say I want someone or I desire someone, it's essentially just a gift of information. It's basically saying, I'm informing you that I want you or I have a desire for you, and it's like an invitation. Do you too? Do you have a desire as well? Um, it's like an invitation for reciprocity, just like, a test. But fundamentally, there's no expectation involved in want or desire. It's just, oh, it would be nice to have that. But if there isn't, it's perfectly fine, you know. And so this would seem like a saner way to approach those notions. And meanwhile, today there seems to be many people who um, intertwine the three, and yeah, it's kind of sad because it gives rise to a lot of misunderstanding, misinterpretation, and then relationships that can blossom from interactions simply collapse as a result of those misinterpretation, because that people express their feelings to one another, then the person who is informed interprets that the other expects, and therefore they pressure themselves. It produces stress for them and anxiety, it may also, and then they reject the other person as a result, where in reality it's just information, you know. Yeah, I found this really interesting. And if people were able to distinguish those notions and just perceive it, as an exchange of information, um, there could be much less stress involved in how people connect with one another, how people get to know each other. Um, and also, it would allow people um, to observe and realize when they when they really have expectations and when they don't, and to detach their desires from expectations as well. Thanks for listening.